As the summer winds down and fall fastly approaching, there's a ton of buzz around Indiana basketball recruiting right now.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here and making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, happy Monday, start of a new week. Thank you so much for starting it with us here at Locked On Hoosiers. And we're almost to the month of August, which means the summer recruiting period is over. The last 2 weeks have been crazy for Mike Woodson and this Indiana basketball staff. And we're going to get you caught up on all the buzz, all the news, and all the rumors going on right now around Indiana basketball recruiting. Plus, Curt Cignetti on Indiana football continues to make some waves. People are listening to what this guy has to say. Plus, we'll give you an update from what's happening over in Paris with the Olympics, how you can keep up with the Hoosiers that are representing in the Olympics. Well, the summer's been busy, and the last couple of weeks have been really, really crucial for this Indiana basketball staff. Mike Woodson, Roseman, all the guys that have been out on the recruiting trail. So many of them have been going and watching all these AAU Summer League type of games, right? The EYBL, the Adidas tournament, like all of those circuits that are happening with all these different teams and all these different players, right? And we got to get some updates, and I feel like we have a much better idea of where Indiana stands, where we stand right now with some of those big names, right? All the ones that you know. The Braylon Mullins of the world, Trent Sisley, how about Malachi Marino, guys like that, Chris Senack, all of those types of players that we have continued to talk about here on Locked On Hoosiers. Now we have a better idea of where we sit with those particular players. And so what is the buzz, right? What is the feeling right now with some of those guys? And I want to start with the one I think we've talked about the most, and I think most Indiana people have talked about the most, and that's Braylon Mullins, right? Braylon Mullins, the Indiana kid who's coming on a visit later in September with Trent Sisley, with his guys. They're all going to be here, 3 of them at the same time. Mullins is the one that I feel the best about. And he cut us in his top 10 just a few days ago, right? We talked about that. My everydayers know this. We talked about Braylon Mullins and his top 10, how the Hoosiers are in it. He plans to cut that down again and then ultimately make his final decision. And if I had to take a stab at anybody the Hoosiers are recruiting, anybody from Mullins to Sisley to Harrelson to anybody, I think Mullins is the guy that if I had to pick one to put my life on that Indiana were to get, I think it's Braylon Mullins. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, and I could very well lose my life if I were to bet that, which I never would. It's recruiting in 2024. You just never know what's going to happen. I just feel, and from what I'm hearing and what I'm being told and what I see, I just feel that this is the best chance we have to get one of these guys. And we're not just shooting for one, okay? This isn't 23 or 24. We're going for multiple big-time recruits and multiple McDonald's All-Americans. It's not normal to have just one player in a high school recruiting class, okay? That's not normal. We don't want to make that a reoccurring thing here in Bloomington. We're going after multiple guys. I just feel that if there's one that we have to get and one that we could get, it is Braylon Mullins, the shooting guard, who I think he's just exploded on the scene, and his game has gotten so much better over the last 6 to 8 months. And I can't wait to see him play in his final senior season of high school basketball. The guy's going to light it up. He's going to go off. And how can you not try to bring in the hometown kid who has all of the biggest schools in his top 10? Remember, he's got Alabama and UConn and North Carolina and Michigan and Kentucky. Like, he's got all the biggest names in his top 10. I think the Hoosiers sit in a really, really good spot. And that's my guy that I think if we only get one, I think it would be Braylon Mullins. But the good news is I don't think we just get the one. I think we have multiple guys that we sit in really, really good spots with. How about Jalen Harrelson? I mentioned his name just a second ago. I feel like we have let him slip under the radar a little bit, the small forward from right here in Indiana, a guy that has so many other schools going after him, different schools than what we just talked about with Mullins, right? Auburn, Gonzaga, Michigan State, Purdue is in those list of schools that are going after Jalen Harrelson, who is just a beast, man. His shooting isn't fantastic. He's just a basketball player. That's what people say about him so often, is he's just a good basketball player. He's got great speed, great power, great agility, somebody that you don't have to teach to be strong, physical, and athletic, because a lot of that you can't teach anyway. You then can work on him and mold his game when he gets into the college level, which is what I think Indiana and Mike Woodson are looking to do. So don't forget about Jalen Harrelson. I think we're in a great spot with him as well. I put Trent Sisley in there too, who's going to be taking his visit with Braylon Mullins coming up at the end of September. A guy that is just going to be your shooting guard. He's going to be your shooter. He could play the three, maybe. He plays that forward. He's tall, so he's 6'7". So he's probably your really big 2 or a 3, and he's your shooter of the class. That's what Trent Sisley is. That's what he does, and I think that's what Indiana's recruiting him for. Remember, he plays on that Indiana elite team. He's loves Indiana. He's played at Indiana in some of those summer games, and he's going to be back this fall. And there's a good chance. This does not mean it's going to happen, but there's a good chance that Mullins and Sisley end up being a combo package. They end up coming together to play at Indiana. Could they both be here? Sure. Could one of them be here and the other one go somewhere else? Yeah, absolutely. Could Indiana miss out on both? You better believe it. That's why you keep on them right now. The good news is, with all the guys I've named, the Hoosiers have been on them so long and so hard, it's impossible for us not to be in it until the end, which is why I feel really good about those guys. I want to get into a few names that maybe aren't quite as hot right now for the Hoosiers. Nate Ament, Malachi Marino. I think we're in a great spot for both of them, the big guys who are, forwards and pushing a center like Malachi Marino. I just think there's more work to do. There's more work to do. I think other schools, I look at Kentucky, who's made such a great push with Mark Pope. Even John Calipari at Arkansas has made a really good push for these types of guys as well. Don't count those guys out, okay? Don't count out Malachi Marino. Don't count out Nate Ament. Don't even count out Reeby, the guy we talked about the other day. Don't count them out. While I don't feel as good about that right now, they're still a part of the game plan for the Indiana Hoosiers. Tons of more updates to come on Locked On Hoosiers, but that's what I'm feeling right now in terms of the buzz around Indiana basketball recruiting. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, the football side continues to heat up as Curt Cignetti is turning heads and making waves. We'll have that for you next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Ibotta. Look, sandals, sunscreen, snacks for the kids, what do those all have in common? You're probably buying a ton of those things again this summer, but don't stress about the cost. Use Ibotta to get cash back on all of your purchases when you stock up on all of your summer essentials. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Look, I downloaded the Ibotta app. I've started using it when I go to the grocery store, when I go to the pharmacy, even when I go and just buy a new golf polo. I use Ibotta and earn that money back because the average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. Could you use an extra $256? I can. Always. And I think you could too. And that could cover the cost of, going to the grocery store, buying something for the kids, whatever the case may be. There's no reason for you not to be using Ibotta. And right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use the code LOCKEDONCollege. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is also brought to you by Factor. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time for summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietary approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. I use Factor, okay? And I've used other things, used other services, and Factor's the go-to one for me. There's no prep, no cooking. You just heat it up. That's all you do. It comes ready to go, pre-cooked, never frozen. And I use the Calorie Smart one. That's the one I use. It's just watching your calories, right? Watching your intake, and the food is delicious. You're never suffering on flavor. You're never suffering on quality. It's just good, healthy food. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore and enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here again, making this your first listen each and every day. Shout out to all my everydayers. Those of you that come back each and every day. We're rocking and rolling right now as July is ending. August is around the corner. Football season as well. So be sure that you are liking our videos on YouTube, commenting down below on this one in particular, and then subscribing to our channel. We continue to grow in the subscriber count, so thank you so much for that. All of our audio listeners too. I see you, I hear you, and I appreciate you. Be sure you follow there, turn on notifications, whatever you got to do to never miss a new episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Curt Cignetti on the Indiana football side is just making waves, turning heads. Every time he opens his mouth, good things are happening. And there are times where you don't want this to happen, right? There are guys who get in front of a camera, get in front of a microphone, and you're like, oh gosh, what's he going to say? Please don't say anything bad. Please don't hurt the university or the football program or whatever the case may be. Curt Cignetti is not that. Curt Cignetti, in my opinion, cannot get in front of a microphone enough. I mean, there aren't enough times that he can get up there and start talking about Indiana football. Because I told you, and my everydayers, if you're here, you know I said this. Going into media days, I wanted him, at Big Ten media days, I wanted him to kind of make a statement, kind of come out and remind people who he is and what his goals are here in Bloomington. And I think he did a fantastic job. And as more interviews and more audio bites and more sound bites continue to flood out from Big Ten media days, and as we get closer to the start of the season, this guy has got it going on. He talks a huge game. He absolutely does. And as I explained in previous episodes, he has an excuse. He has a reason to talk a big game. Now, some people would say he doesn't have that right to do it here at Indiana yet, and I totally get where you're coming from, right? Because you want to see the results on the field. But he's got the results everywhere else he's been. And for right now, until fall practice starts and until the games get underway at the end of August, about a month from now, what else does he have? What else does he have to do or use in terms of ammunition or proof? He doesn't. He has his past, and he has his goals, and he has his process. And look, it is not just making waves in the fan base for you. It's making waves, like I've told you, in the athletics department, in the football buildings, right, inside the program. And most importantly, I'm hearing that it's starting to make some waves for the football players inside the locker room. They feel that energy. They hear their head coach defending them and going to battle for them already this early in the process. I mean, look, Curt Cignetti doesn't even know some of these guys personally like that yet. He's working on that, and that's what being a head coach is. But already this early in the process, he's going out and putting on a show in the media for his guys. And I think that is really resonating with them. And that's going to make them play harder, practice harder, try harder, care harder, and love harder too. And that's something you can't teach. That's something that you can't buy from NIL money, guys that care and want to be there. And I think Curt Cignetti is doing a really, really good job at just convincing these guys that Indiana is where they want to be and that things are going to get better and things are going to turn around here in Bloomington with Coach Cignetti at the forefront of it. And I think so many of these guys are believing that right now. If you're somebody that hung around and didn't leave in the transfer portal, you're feeling pretty good right now. If you're somebody that came in through the transfer portal, you're feeling pretty good right now. And if you're any of those high school recruits that either were already on the way in or the ones that Cignetti and this staff had to revive at the end, then yeah, you're feeling pretty good right about now. And I love it, man. I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of Coach Cignetti, man, I need him to give me a pep talk to get out of bed in the morning. That guy is he's fired up and he's bought in and he believes that his process is going to work. And I do too. I really do. I believe that it's going to work. And I've told you guys this. To what extent, I don't know. I don't have my crystal ball out with me this morning. I'm sorry. I don't know what it's going to be. And you don't either, frankly. But it's so hard to not at least buy in and give the guy a chance. And so I'm going to pose this to you. And if you're watching right now, you can comment down below on YouTube. Is there, for those of you that are maybe still a little skeptical or a little hesitant on Curt Cignetti, I want to know why. And I'm not judging or hating at all. I'm genuinely curious on what people who are thinking differently than me right now, what are your hesitations on Curt Cignetti? Is there something that worries you? Is there anything that you're kind of like, I don't know about this guy. He talks a big game, but he hasn't really done a whole lot here yet. Understandable. Let me know down in the YouTube comments below. But I just believe that for somebody that believes in their process and will work effortlessly to make that happen, I'm just ready for the season to start. You've got fall camp right here this week. You've got it going on. And as August gets going, fall camp's happening all over the country now. And then the season starts in a month. In a month, we start the college football season. And I'm just ready to see what this team has, what the quarterback situation looks like. I know there's been a lot of buzz and a lot of rumors flying around on that, what the quarterback battle looks like. We'll get to that as we get into fall camp and just what the talent looks like. Is the talent better than it was a year ago? On paper, I think so. Sure. I think it is. I think it's much better on paper. But can they put it together, and how early can they put it together on the field, right? Those first two games, you've got a little bit of a grace period, but then you travel out to the West Coast to play UCLA. You got to turn it on then and try to put on a good show and see if you can win the dang thing. And if you start doing things like that, then yeah, it's going to be a fun season. I just want to see it, man. I'm ready for the season. I'm ready for Cignetti on the sidelines. He's a very vocal, colorful type of guy. He wears his emotions on his face, and I can't wait to see this guy not just make waves in the offseason right now, but start making some waves on the football field as well. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, updates from Paris in the Summer Olympics as more Hoosiers are competing throughout this week. I'll give you an updated medal count as well. We'll have a little fun talking about the 2024 Summer Olympics as we come back on the final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Look, I love sports, and I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs are over, we've got fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want them to. All I got to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood, which, as of right now, seems to be just about every single day. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. You've still got baseball going on, so jump in on that as we get closer to the postseason for that. And look, just start getting warmed up because college football is next month, and you got to get your betting ready on FanDuel when the college football season comes around. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Final segment here on Locked on Hoosiers. Again, appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. And that's what we're covering in our final segment is all things Indiana athletics with 19 different representatives overseas in Paris representing, having some ties to Indiana University for the 2024 Summer Olympics. And this is an updated medal count as of Monday morning. So if you're listening or watching this and it's later than that, then it may be a little bit different. But as of right now, the United States is leading the medal count total with 12, but they are in fifth place with 3 gold medals behind Australia, Republic of Korea, Japan, and China, who all have more golds. But the United States has the most golds altogether. But here's what I'm going to talk about in terms of the Hoosiers. You can continue watching Indiana athletes compete in the 2024 Summer Olympics. We have a swimmer who's competing for Egypt. That is going to be on Monday night. Again, that's the 29th, so just keep that in mind. That'll be on Monday. Looks like that was actually Monday morning. You've got water polo competing for Canada. That'll be Monday afternoon. How about another swimmer on the 800-meter freestyle later on today? You've got tons of athletes going on Tuesday for swimming. Most of them are swimming. And look at this. Israel, Singapore, United States, Germany. That's so cool that we have so many different countries represented. More water polo, diving for the United States. That'll be going on Wednesday. Trying to see some other sports. Looks like more swimming. Got a lot of swimmers over there, my man. Water polo, track and field. There you go. Starting to get into the running and throwing and all that good stuff. You have more diving on Tuesday next week. So look, there's just so many players and so many athletes, I guess I should say, for the Indiana Hoosiers that have ties to the university. Again, I read 19, I believe, is the number that have athletic ties to our school, to our programs, which how awesome is that? How awesome is it to see Indiana athletes competing in the biggest stage of all of athletics? Side note here, did you watch the basketball game on Sunday? The United States play against Serbia, and 2 guys didn't play, Tatum from the Celtics, and then Halliburton didn't play either? What was that about? I didn't understand either one of those guys not touching the floor at all from the state of Indiana. I don't know what Steve Kerr's problem is, but neither one of them touched the floor, and I think that was a mistake. The United States pulled away late, and look, you had Kevin Durant doing his thing. That is one of the single most impressive performances I've ever seen in basketball. Like, Kevin Durant didn't practice, didn't warm up, didn't play any of the prelim games, and shows up to the first official game of the Olympics, and all he does is go and miss one total shot, was 7 for 7 in the first half, and just a sniper from downtown. Like, the guy was doing it all, was Kevin Durant. LeBron James had a good game. Steph Curry had a good game. But our guy Halliburton's got to get in there a little bit too. And I can't believe Tatum didn't make it either. Now, let me say this. Nikola Jokic almost had Serbia in that basketball game, and he did for about 2.5 quarters before the U.S. just kind of did their thing. But Summer Olympics continuing on over in Paris. They will be going on for the next several days. You can just look it up, right? Just look up Paris Olympics. You can look up the medal count. You can look up where I got the information on all of the Indiana athletes is actually on the SI site, Indiana Hoosiers on Sports Illustrated. So just look up Indiana Hoosiers Sports Illustrated. Shout out to those guys for putting a huge piece of an article together. that shows where everybody's competing when they're competing. Jack Ankeny on Indiana Hoosiers SI. So shout out to those guys. So go look that up. Go and check it out and just keep up with them as much as you can, whether they're pulling or I guess whether they're competing for the United States or not. You can keep up with Indiana athletes all summer long overseas at the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics. Well, that's going to do it for our final, or for today's episode. Not our final, I promise. Misspoke, not a final. How about our final segment on this Monday? Wow, off to a great start this week, huh? Appreciate you being here on Locked On Hoosiers. Hopefully you get your week off started just a little bit better than I have. But hey, we got a lot of great content, more recruiting news coming up. We're getting into fall practice for football, so episodes are coming every single day. So make sure if you're on YouTube that you like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel, okay? I don't want you to miss an episode. I'm looking out for you, all right? So just become a part of our family over here, and you'll never miss one, and you can get more of me if you want that. Also on your audio platforms, be sure you do the same thing. Follow, subscribe, notify, whatever you got to do so you never miss a new episode of Locked On Hoosiers. We will be back tomorrow, so until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.